Alright guys, today is an episode of the best of the rest, so without further ado we'll start with Man City Brighton, which was a 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon game that I went for, and it was a good game to be fair. I thought it was either going to go one or two ways depending on how Brighton performed, to be honest, but yeah, they didn't do too badly, Brighton. They in fact, I thought they were quite brave in the way they set up to start the game with. They were putting City under pressure. They forced a couple of errors out of Ederson, in fact. The first one, just like a poor pass, where all of his options were marked by Brighton players. And Danny Welbeck, he lost his balance at the vital moment when he was trying to lob Ederson from like 35 yards, which was unfortunate. But yeah, but Ederson completely made up for it with the first goal that Haaland scored. It's super pass, and Haaland, he just uses what he has, the strength, it's chests it. Robert Sanchez, I thought, didn't cover himself in glory at all. Came racing out when you're up against one of the fastest players in the Premier League. Haaland takes it past him, shoves Adam Webster off the ball, and yeah, just no stopping Haaland in that situation really, and he taps it into an empty net. And City got the second for a penalty, but for me it wasn't a penalty. Bernardo Silva's definitely left his left leg dangling out, and yeah, it's not really a penalty. I think the referee got it right the first time around. However, I do think City should have had a penalty before the first goal, when Sanchez definitely caught Haaland on the ankle with his studs when Haaland took the ball past him. So 100% they got the wrong penalty. They it evened out, but they gave the wrong penalty, if that makes sense. So in theory, Haaland should have had a penalty before his first goal, not after it. But he took the penalty to make it 2-0 and absolutely hammered it in. Just a brilliant penalty. Robert Sanchez was just not ready for it at all on his goal line. But fair play to Brighton. After half time, second half, they didn't just give up completely. They still went forward in numbers, and they got the goal through Leandro Trossard. I thought it was good play by him and March down the left hand side, but I also thought that Akanji was quite slow getting back into position, and this caused Diaz to have to pull over. And then that leaves Trossard with a little bit of space on the edge of the box that he might not have otherwise had to take a touch and get the shot off. And it was a brilliant strike, by the way. There was very little that was going to stop it. Ederson got a hand to it, but you can't fault him in that situation. It was a strange game for Ederson, though. He produced a brilliant pass for Haaland's goal, but also made quite a few mistakes in possession of the ball as well, but with the Brighton goal, no way you can fault him for that. And Brighton had a 10-minute spell after they scored where they were putting City under a fair bit of pressure. They had a couple of decent chances, in fact. Trossard had one where he ran about 30 yards from near enough his own half into the box, took the shot on, probably should have squared it to Welbeck, who if he'd have got there would have had a tap in, so on another day it could have been 2-2. But yeah, City put an end to it in with about 10 minutes to go. De Bruyne, superb strike, edge of the box, and just he gets whip on it and dips somehow, and it goes into the top left corner, and he's not even that far out. He's about just maybe 2 or 3 yards outside the box. It was an amazing strike. No goalkeeper in the world saving it. And yeah, that just completely wrapped the game up for City. But yeah, there were some good performers for both teams. I thought for City in particular, I thought Bernardo Silva just didn't stop running, even though I did think he knew exactly what he was doing to get the penalty. He just whatever you think of Bernardo Silva, one thing he does is he works hard. He never stops running. Which is what you need in a top class team like Man City. And then in the Saturday evening game, United went to Stamford Bridge and managed to nick a 1-1 draw right at the end of the game. The way I've just described it probably doesn't say a lot about the game, to be honest, because United were the dominant side in the first half. Chelsea, they went back to a free at back after they've trialled a 4-3-3 more recently under Graham Potter. But they went for a similar formation they used at Brighton quite a lot. And Chelsea just couldn't get into the game at all. Other than a few half chances for Aubameyang, they really didn't create much. United had the majority of possession and probably the majority of chances as well. A few falling to Rashford and Anthony. Anthony had a couple where you felt he probably should have done a bit better with, especially the one just before half time that came on his weak right foot. And Anthony, he does have a weak right foot, let's be honest. If I were to describe Anthony to someone who's never watched him before, I would say Iron Robin without the pace, sort of. Like, he is very one-footed and quite predictable. But having said that though, Jadon Sancho on the left-hand side, neither could really take on their man. Like, I think Sancho, it might be a confidence thing, but with Anthony, it's sort of like, you know what he's going to do, so if you just keep him going on his weak foot, he's not going to cause too many problems, is the thing with him. But yeah, United, they were by far the better side. But Chelsea, in fairness to Graham Potter, they saw the issue, made the change. They took off Cucurella, I think it was, after about half an hour, and brought on an extra midfielder in Kovacic, and that started to turn the game a little bit. The other thing I would say about United was I thought Rashford's finishing. Rashford was very good in terms of his movement and getting into the right positions, but he just needs to relax a little bit more in front of goal. It's a similar situation to what Liverpool are having right now with Nunez, I think. That they never want to place their shots. It's always just get power on it and hope it and try and keep it on target. There's never let's go for this corner or anything like that. It's just pure power for some reason. I think just relax a bit and pick your spot more so than anything for Rashford and Nunez for that. But second half, United were hit by a bit of an injury blow. It was quite a bit of a stop-starty second half for the first 10 minutes. And then Chelsea went forward, Varane pulled up, and you could just tell that the way he went over, no contact, that he knew he was done, and it was horrible to see him in tears on the sides of the pitch, knowing that might be his World Cup done. And given the age he is, he's 29 now, and he's having a lot of injury issues over the past couple of years. This might have been his last chance to play out a World Cup, who knows, so you've got to feel for him a little bit. But I mean, he has already won the competition on the one hand, so there is that. But yeah, Chelsea then, that sort of depleted United a bit, that injury. They sort of, I don't know, it definitely affected them. And Chelsea started to get a bit more of the ball in attacking areas, and 87th minute, they get a corner. Now, Scott McTominay's off the bench, and he's marking Broja, who came off the bench for Chelsea as well. And it's a bit of a soft pen for me, but I still think it was really silly from McTominay. Like, you can't be handling your man like that, to be honest. So, yeah, you can't. I don't think McTominay can complain, but on another day, that probably doesn't get given. So, yeah, I don't think United fans can really argue about it, to be honest, although it was a little bit soft. Jorginho took it, sent De Gea the wrong way, put it in the back of the net, and then you're thinking, right, well, that's that. United probably aren't going to come back from this, but fair play to them. They kept going forward, and Casemiro produced a wonderful header to equalise. Brilliant how he was off balance. He was like, he did this thing where he was jumping away from the ball, managed to get enough power on it to sort of flick it past Kepa. Kepa got a hand to it, put it on the post, and it hit the post and just about crossed the line before Kepa tried to clear it off the line. But yeah, brilliant header, and in the end, a good result for United. And then in the final game I wanted to cover today, Arsenal dropped points for only the second time this season at St Mary's against Southampton, in a game where they should have won really. In the first half they were the dominant team. They created lots of chances, played some really good football. Odegaard, Jesus, Ben White, Saka, all linking up really well in the first half. Martinelli causing problems on the left-hand side as well. They got the goal through Granit Xhaka. It was the goal of a player who's playing with a lot of confidence right now. Ben White and Saka played a nice 1-2 down the right hand side, gets squared, Xhaka on his weak foot smashes it into the roof of the net. And Arsenal should have added to that. Jesus had a couple of good chances, and he needed to take one of them. Jesus, as well as he has played this season, he hasn't been in amazing goal scoring form, is one thing I would say. But his all round play more than makes up for that. I think. But yes, it's Southampton. They rode their luck at times throughout the game. First half, Bazunu made some brilliant saves to keep them in it, and second half, I thought they got a bit lucky on a couple of occasions, because Lianco, I thought, was lucky to stay on the pitch. I know you could argue the second yellow was right at the end of the game, but the first off, there was one where he hit back at his opponent when, after a bit of coming together. In fairness, Jesus did jump in the air with his elbow. Actually, you can see his frustration there. But in the second half, he was about this far away from making contact with a headbutt. And as we saw in the week with Douglas Luiz on Mitrovic, if you make any contact with a headbutt, you're in trouble. So he got a bit fortunate there. And there was also Jan Bednarek, who was constantly all over Gabriel Jesus. Anytime a ball's over the top, he's literally just like got two arms around him, almost rugby tackling him at times. Well, not rugby tackling, because it was more around the chest than the waist, but it was still, again, one where he probably should have had a couple of yellow cards, to be honest. So he got away. I said Bednarek, didn't I? Not Bednarek, Chiletica or something like that. I said the wrong player. Too used to seeing Bednarek play centre back for Southampton, but yeah. Chiletica probably should have had a couple of yellows. But yeah, Southampton, the game turned, I think, when El Yunusi made a superb tackle to stop Jesus from scoring early on in the second half, and that just lifted the crowd up a little bit. And then Southampton started to get forwards a bit more. It gave them a bit more belief, and the goal came from a good counter-attack. I think it was up, but the only two players really involved in terms of getting on the ball were Armstrong and El Yunusi. It got played out wide to El Yunusi, dribbled with it, cut inside and slid a lovely pass through to back to Armstrong, and Armstrong just tucked it into the bottom left corner. Brilliant goal, really well worked. And yeah, Southampton from then on, they were probably the better side. Aribo had a decent chance, and Arsenal just looked like they were lacking energy. They looked like a team who isn't used to playing twice a week most weeks. So I think they just ran out of steam a little bit in the second half, Arsenal. And yeah, they just really struggled to get forward. Even when they brought subs on, it didn't have an impact really. And Nketiah and Vieira both came on, but they just couldn't create many chances. They did score a disallowed goal. Tierney didn't quite keep it in and laid it back to Odegaard, who scored, but it definitely went out. But yeah, Southampton did really well considering the amount of injuries they've currently got. They've got some injuries to quite a few players who would probably be in their starting 11. There's Bella Kotchap, Kyle Walker-Peters, Tino Livramento, Romeo Lavia. Che Adams was only fit enough to start on the bench, so they were missing a lot of players, to be fair to Southampton. So they did really well to get a point out of this game, I think. But Arsenal, I think, got summed up quite well after the game. It's by Jesus. It's just one of them where you have to take the points and just move on. So yeah, I think that's the correct way of looking at it.